So I just want to share with you a very simple tool that you can use to explain what it means to abide in Jesus. So if you have your Bible, we're going to be in John chapter 15. And I'm going to read two verses, verses 4 and 5. Jesus says, "Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you, unless you abide in me. I'm the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." So the first thing we want to see is, hey, the topic that we're talking about is about abiding in Jesus. And it says that those who abide in Jesus bear much fruit. Okay, that's what we want. So what is Jesus telling us? What are we doing? So let's look at verse 7. It says, "If you abide in me and my words abide in you." We want to draw a little Bible. So we want to abide in the words of Jesus, and the words of Jesus want to abide in us. Verse 7 continues, "Ask whatever you wish, and it will be given." What is that a picture of? That is a picture of praying. We ask, and it will be done for you. And then verse 8 says, "By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so prove to be my disciples." Another outcome of abiding is we see that the Father is glorified. So we also see here, let me notate that, there's verse 7. Let's pick up in verse 9. "As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love." Verse 9 says that we abide in his love. Let's keep going. "If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love." So what we see is connected to abiding in the love. We see that we will keep the commandments. Verse 10. Verse 11, "These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full." Why? See, we will have joy, it says in verse 11. Verse 12, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." So what we see is all of this abiding should be done in the context of loving one another and fellowship. So what does it mean to abide in Jesus? Another word for abide is remain. So let's just use that word. Verse, if we look at verse 7, "Abide or remain in my word." The other part of verse 7, "Remain or abide in prayer." Verse 9, "Remain or abide in my love." And out of our abiding in Jesus' love, we keep his commandments. So to prove to be his disciples, and then he gives us joy. Verse 11, what is the outcome of our abiding? 1, we bear much fruit. 2, the Father is glorified. So if that is your heart, that the Father would be glorified and that you would bear much fruit, let's come back to these core things, right? Let's abide in the word. Let's abide in prayer. Let's abide in the Father's love. Let's keep his commandments out of that love, and he will give us joy. And let me just add this little notation here, verse 12, that we're doing this in the context of loving one another. So a question to ponder is, can I do abiding activities without truly abiding? I think that's a great diagnostic question as we seek to remain in Jesus, because what I've personally found is I can read his word and I can be in communication and prayer. Typically, part I can't fake is remaining in his love, because it's out of remaining in his love that I have this compulsion, that I'm compelled to keep his commandments. And as I walk in obedience to Jesus, he gives me joy. The Father is glorified and I bear much fruit. And I don't do this alone. I do it in the context of loving one another in a fellowship that the New Testament calls a church. So what I want you to do now is I just want you to practice walking through John 15. All right, so we did John 15, 4 through 5, and then we did 7 through 12. I want you to practice this on a piece of paper, because abiding in Jesus is important for your personal walk, but for those that you are leading, those disciples that God has given you to shepherd and steward, if you want to see them bear much fruit and you want to see the Father glorified, we should be able to lead the disciples God has given us to abide. Because as we continue through the chapter in John 15, it says that your fruit may also abide. So it's not just for us to abide, but that our fruit would also abide. So if you found this tool helpful, you can share it if you would like, but what I would rather you do, rather than sharing this video, is internalize the message and share it yourself with others. God bless.